The red flag with the yellow star snapped 3 feet from James Stewart's face, and his hand went to his chest like he'd been shot. Wait, because what John Wayne did in the next 90 seconds would be replayed on the evening news for a week, and nobody who saw it coming would believe what actually came down. January 4th, 1971, Sacramento, California. Noon. John Wayne and James Stewart are walking from the parking structure toward the state capitol building, where Ronald Reagan is about to be sworn in for his second term as governor. They're both in dark suits, Wayne in his trademark Stetson, Stewart looking older than his 62 years, thinner than he should be. They've been driven up from Los Angeles together, 3 hours of light conversation about movies and golf, and anything except the one thing Stewart can't stop thinking about. His stepson Ronald McLean had been dead for 16 months, killed in action in Vietnam. 24 years old, Marine lieutenant, stepped on a mine during a patrol near Da Nang. Stewart hadn't been the same since the funeral. Wayne knows this. Everyone knows this. Stewart's been doing fewer movies, turning down roles, spending more time at home with his wife Gloria, who can't seem to stop crying. Wayne had called him twice about this Reagan thing, trying to get him out of the house, trying to get him to just show up and be seen, because that's what old soldiers do. They show up. They keep going. They don't quit. Stewart had finally said yes 3 days ago, but now, walking across this parking lot, Wayne can see the weight in Stewart's shoulders, the way he's carrying something invisible that's getting heavier with every step toward that Capitol building. Notice this. Stewart wasn't just any Hollywood actor showing up for a political photo op. He'd served in World War II, flown 20 bombing missions over Germany, rose to brigadier general. He knew what it meant to send young men into combat. He knew what it meant when they didn't come home. And now his own stepson had joined that count. One more name in a war that kept taking and never seemed to give anything back. Now they're 50 yards from the Capitol steps when the chanting starts. Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. 300 voices, maybe more. Young people with long hair and denim jackets and homemade signs. And right there in the center of the crowd, snapping in the cold January wind, is a Viet Cong flag. The red and blue horizontal stripes, the yellow star, the exact flag that flew over the positions that killed American boys. Stewart sees it and stops walking. Just stops. His face goes white. Wayne's hand comes out fast, grabs Stewart's elbow, holds him steady. Jimmy, look at me. Look at me. Not at them. But Stewart's staring at that flag like it's a ghost. His lips are moving, but nothing's coming out. His hands still pressed to his chest. Wayne's seen this before. In other men. In other places. Shock. The kind that hits you sideways when you're not ready. The kind that makes time stop and your heart forget how to beat, and your brain forget where you are. The crowd's getting louder. They've seen Wayne and Stewart now. 2 Hollywood Republicans in suits. Exactly the kind of establishment figures they've been protesting for the last 5 years. Some of them start moving closer, waving their signs. Murderers. Baby killers. How many kids did you kill today? A Capitol police officer appears beside Wayne. Young guy, mid-20s, crew cut, nervous. Mr. Wayne, we can get you inside through the side entrance. We've got this under control. Wayne doesn't move. He's watching Stewart, who's still frozen, still staring at that flag, like it's the only thing in the world that exists. And Wayne's doing math in his head. He can walk Stewart to the side door right now, get him out of sight. Nobody would blame them. It's the smart move. It's the safe move. It's the move that makes sense. But that flag's still waving, and every second it stays up is another second. Stewart has to look at the thing that represents everything that took his son away from him. Remember something here. Wayne's not thinking about the protesters. He's not thinking about what they're saying, or what they believe, or whether they have a right to wave that flag. He's thinking about the man standing next to him, whose stepson came home in a box 16 months ago. That's the only calculation that matters. That's the only thing Wayne can control in this moment. Wayne lets go of Stewart's elbow. He adjusts his hat. He starts walking toward the crowd. The police officer grabs his sleeve. "Sir, I really don't think." "Let go of my arm, son." The officer lets go. His hand drops. He glances at his partner, who shrugs, because what are you supposed to do when John Wayne tells you to let him walk into a mob of 300 angry protesters? Wayne walks across the Capitol lawn, straight toward the center of the crowd where the flag is. His hands are at his sides. He's not reaching for anything. He's not making fists. He's just walking, steady and slow, the way he walked in 100 Westerns, and the crowd's starting to realize what's happening. Look at what's actually taking place on that lawn. 300 young people who've spent the last 5 years protesting the war, protesting the government, protesting everything John Wayne represents in their minds. And here he comes, walking toward them like he's walking into a saloon in Dodge City. No bodyguards, no weapons, no backup, just a 63-year-old man in a suit and a Stetson, betting everything on the idea that conversation works better than confrontation. The chanting dies down. People are turning to watch. Someone yells, "Oh shit, it's John Wayne," and half the crowd laughs nervously, because what the hell is John Wayne doing walking toward them? This isn't the script they expected. This isn't how this scene is supposed to go. The kid holding the flag can't be more than 22. Long brown hair past his shoulders, scraggly beard, army surplus jacket with peace signs drawn on it in marker. He's holding the flag on a wooden pole, both hands gripped tight, and when Wayne gets within 10 feet, he raises the pole higher, like he's daring Wayne to try something, like he's ready for the fight he thinks is coming. Wayne stops. He's close enough now that the kid can see his face clearly, close enough that the whole front row of protesters can hear him without him having to shout. "What's your name, son?" The kid blinks. He wasn't expecting a question. "What? Your name? What do they call you?" "I don't have to tell you shit." "Fair enough." Wayne nods. His voice is calm, conversational, like they're talking about the weather. "You mind if I ask you something else?" The kid glances to his left and right. His friends are watching, waiting to see what he does, waiting to see if he's going to cave to the Hollywood establishment or stand his ground. He shrugs, trying to look tougher than he feels. "Whatever, man. It's a free country. That flag you're holding, you know what it represents?" "Yeah, I know. Vietnamese freedom fighters resisting American imperialism." "Uh-huh. You ever been to Vietnam?" "No." "You know anybody who has?" The kid hesitates, and there it is, the crack in the armor, the moment when the political becomes personal. "My cousin was over there. He came back all messed up. That's why I'm here." Wayne nods again, real slow. "My friend back there." He gestures with his thumb towards Stewart, who's still standing by the officer, watching. "You see that man in the blue suit?" The kid looks. "Yeah. That's James Stewart. You know who he is? The actor." "That's right. He's an actor. He's also a brigadier general in the Air Force Reserve. He flew bombing missions in World War II, 20 combat missions over Germany, and his stepson, a Marine lieutenant named Ronald McLean, was killed in Vietnam 16 months ago. Stepped on a mine, 24 years old." The kid's face changes, just slightly. His grip on the pole loosens a fraction. You can see it happening. The moment when the abstract becomes real, when the enemy becomes someone's father. Listen to what Wayne's not saying here. He's not arguing about the war. He's not defending American policy or attacking the protesters' position. He's just telling a story about a father who lost his son. He's giving the kid something he can't argue with, because it's not an argument. It's just a fact. A young man died. A father grieves. No politics can change that. Wayne keeps going. "Now you got every right to protest this war. You got every right to say what you believe. I might not agree with you, but this country was built on people saying what they think, even when other people don't like it. That's what makes it worth defending." He pauses. The whole crowd's listening now. Nobody's chanting. Nobody's yelling. The wind picks up, making the flag snap louder, and Wayne glances at it before looking back at the kid. But that flag, Wayne points at it. That flag doesn't represent freedom. It represents the people who killed that man's son. And I'm asking you, as one American to another, if you'd be willing to put it down while he's standing here. Not because I'm telling you to, because it's the decent thing to do. The silence that follows is so complete, you can hear car horns blocks away. The kid's looking at Wayne, then at the flag, then back at Wayne. His friends are watching him, waiting. The whole moment hangs there, suspended, like everyone's holding their breath at once. 30 seconds pass. Feels like 30 minutes. The kid's jaw tightens. His eyes are wet. He's 19, 20, maybe 22, and he's been so sure about everything for so long. He's been carrying this flag for months, maybe years, believing in what it represents. And now he's standing here with a choice to make that has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with whether he can look at another person's pain and respond like a human being. Watch what happens next, because this is going to reframe everything you just saw. The kid's not surrendering. He's not admitting he was wrong about the war. He's making a choice that transcends the argument everyone thought they were having. Then the kid lowers the pole. He doesn't throw the flag away. He doesn't apologize. He just lowers it, folds it once, and holds it at his side instead of waving it. His face is red. His friends are murmuring. Some of them look angry. Some of them look confused. But he did it. He made a choice. He saw someone's pain and decided to respond. Wayne nods. "I appreciate that. Thank you." He turns and walks back to Stewart, who's still standing there looking like he might collapse. Wayne takes his elbow again, gentler this time. "Come on, Jimmy. Let's go see Reagan get sworn in." They walk to the side entrance. The police officer holds the door open without saying a word. His face shows something close to awe. He's just watched John Wayne do something he'll tell his grandkids about, though he's not quite sure how to explain what he just saw. Inside, Stewart finally speaks. His voice is shaking. "Duke, I couldn't. When I saw that flag, I couldn't. I know, Ronald used to write me letters. From over there, he never complained. Not once. He just kept saying he was doing his duty." Stewart's voice breaks. "I still have them. I've read them so many times. I've got them memorized. And I keep thinking, what was the last thing he saw? What was he thinking about when it happened?" "Jimmy." Wayne's voice is firm but gentle. Don't go there." And then they sent me his things, his personal effects. There wasn't much. His watch, his wallet, a letter he'd been writing to his mother that he never finished. Stewart stops walking, leans against the marble wall. It ended mid-sentence, Duke. He was telling her about the guys in his unit, about some joke they'd been laughing about, and it just stopped. Wayne doesn't say anything. He just keeps his hand on Stewart's elbow as they stand there in the hallway. After a minute, Stewart straightens up, wipes his eyes with the back of his hand, and they keep walking toward the chamber where the inauguration's about to start. That night, 3 different news stations run the story. Walter Cronkite mentions it on CBS. They don't have footage of the conversation. Nobody had cameras that close, but they have footage of Wayne walking toward the crowd and walking back. They interview some of the protesters afterward. The kid with the flag doesn't give his name, but he tells a reporter, "He didn't threaten us. He didn't pull any tough guy stuff. He just talked to us like people. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to be human, I guess." Notice how the story spreads, not because of what Wayne said, but because of how he said it. Not because he won an argument, but because he didn't try to. The networks play the footage over and over. Wayne walking toward the crowd. Wayne talking to the kid. Wayne walking back with Stewart. Three simple acts that somehow say more about 1971 America than 1,000 speeches ever could. Reagan mentions it during his inaugural speech, though he keeps it brief. I'm told that two of my good friends had quite an interesting walk across the Capitol lawn today. That's the California I believe in. People with different views finding a way to respect each other's humanity, even when they disagree. But the story that gets the most attention comes 2 days later, when a reporter tracks down James Stewart at his home in Beverly Hills and asks him about it. Stewart, who rarely does interviews anymore, who's been avoiding the press since his son's death, who hasn't wanted to talk to anyone about anything, agrees to talk for exactly 5 minutes. What John Wayne did, Stewart says, his voice, that familiar slow drawl, wasn't about politics. It wasn't about proving anything to anybody. It was about one man seeing another man hurting and doing what he could to make it stop. That's who Duke is. That's who he's always been. And I'll be grateful to him for the rest of my life. The reporter asks if Stewart's angry at the protesters, if he thinks they should have been arrested for waving that flag. Stewart shakes his head. Those young people, they don't want this war. I understand that. My son didn't want the war either. He just felt it was his duty to serve. And he did his duty. He pauses, looking out the window of his Beverly Hills home. Both things can be true at the same time. That's what Duke helped me remember. That you can honor your son's service and still wish the war had never happened. That you can grieve and still respect the people who are trying to stop other mothers from grieving the same way. Listen to what Stewart just said. He's a brigadier general, a World War II veteran, a father who lost his son in combat, and he's saying the protesters have a point. He's saying his son's service and their protest can both be valid. That's not the soundbite anyone expected. That's not the tribal warfare everyone's used to. That's something else entirely. Something most people in 1971 aren't ready to hear. 3 years later, in 1974, Wayne will receive the Congressional Gold Medal. The citation mentions his contributions to American cinema and his support for military families. It doesn't mention the incident with the flag, but several congressmen do during the floor debate before the vote. One of them, a Democrat from Massachusetts who voted against the Vietnam War every single time, votes for the medal anyway. He says, "I may disagree with John Wayne's politics on almost everything, but I cannot disagree with the way he treated those young protesters that day in Sacramento, with respect, with dignity, with the kind of decency that makes you remember this country is supposed to be better than its worst moments. That's the America we should all aspire to." James Stewart will die in 1997, 26 years after that day in Sacramento. At his funeral, Wayne's children, Duke himself having died in 1979, will sit in the front row alongside Stewart's family. During the eulogy, someone will mention the bond between the two men, forged over decades of friendship and movies, and shared values and moments nobody else saw. They won't mention the Viet Cong flag incident specifically. They won't need to. Everyone there will already know. Everyone there will already understand what it meant. The kid who lowered the flag never gave his name to the press, never came forward, never tried to capitalize on his 15 seconds of fame. He just went back to his life. Whatever that was, maybe he stopped protesting. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he still thinks about that day sometimes, when a movie star asked him a simple question and waited for an answer instead of trying to force one, when someone treated him like a person instead of an enemy. Wait, because here's what nobody talks about when they tell this story. It's not that Wayne changed the kid's mind about the war. It's not that the kid suddenly became a supporter of American policy in Vietnam. The flag going down wasn't about surrender or capitulation or one side winning and the other losing. It was about a moment of shared humanity cutting through all the political noise. It was about recognizing that grief doesn't have a political party, that pain doesn't care about your bumper stickers or your voting record, or which side of the generation gap you're standing on. The lesson, if there is one, isn't complicated. It's not about who was right or wrong about the war. It's not about patriotism or protest or any of the big abstract concepts people argue about on television and in newspapers and at dinner tables. It's simpler than that. It's about recognizing that the person standing in front of you, even if they're holding a flag you hate, even if they're saying things that make your blood boil, is still a person, still somebody's son or daughter, still capable of empathy, still capable of making a different choice if you give them a reason to and a way to do it without losing face. Wayne understood that. Not because he was a saint, not because he was perfect, not because he agreed with the protesters or thought the war was wrong, but because he'd been around long enough to know that the hardest thing in the world isn't changing someone's mind with force. It's giving them permission to change it themselves. It's creating space for empathy in a moment when everyone expects combat. It's remembering that the person in front of you has their own story, their own reasons, their own pain that you can't see. And on a cold January day in 1971, in front of 300 protesters and one grieving father and one kid holding a flag he'd been taught to wave as a symbol of resistance. That's exactly what John Wayne did. He didn't fight, he didn't lecture, he didn't threaten, he just told a story. And that story was enough. If you enjoyed spending this time here, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing. A simple like also helps more than you'd think. And if you want to hear what happened the night John Wayne refused to back down when a studio boss threatened to end his career over a handshake deal, tell me in the comments.